to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, powered by FC Cincinnati supporters. Get in touch, soccer fans. Email us at cincysoccertalk@spmt.tv. Now, here is your host, Nick Suberling.
We're back. That's right, 24 hours later, we're back at it with a special edition of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. In case you missed it, Jeff Birding and Carl Lindner III held a press conference today at the FC Cincinnati offices to talk about the financing arrangement that FC Cincinnati has announced. They will be 100% financing the cost of the stadium and the MLS expansion bid. What say you? We've opened up the phones tonight. It's a free-for-all. Have your say, FC Cincinnati fans. 513-399-KICK. That's 513-399-KICK. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us on the Twitter, you can at Cincy Soccer Talk. We'll be reading YouTube comments and Facebook comments. We're going to be hearing from Max Ellerby from the Build It Here crowd, get his thoughts on the announcement today. And, of course, we've got a plethora of opinions tonight here on this very show. Glad to have back the Weigel twins, Brad and Brian. I'll start with you, Brad. How's it going, buddy?
Dude, I don't know how much longer I can take all this. I know we got about a month to the MLS decision day as far as expansion goes, and with all this stuff, I'm almost already worn out, so I'm interested to talk about it and see what everybody has to say about this new stadium proposition.
And at the end of last night's show, we kind of hinted at it that, these kind of episodes are going to probably be a lot more frequent over the next few weeks because of all the news that's coming down. I mean, there was a press conference yesterday. There's a press conference today. Who knows? I'm going to put money on it that there won't be a press conference tomorrow as far as FC Cincinnati goes. There might be a press conference for the Hamilton County Commissioners, which we'll be talking about, I'm sure, tonight as well. Also glad to have back Brian Weigel. Brian, how are you?
Good. I'm just disappointed you had to choose the other twin first because it's, he's born 4 minutes ahead of me or something.
I have nothing. No words, Bri. I do the best that I can. As a father of twins, I do the best I can. And so, yes, I'm sorry.
That's 4 minutes you'll remember for the rest of your life, fella. That you'll never let me forget the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. No, so let's talk about this. So 4 minutes were decisive or, I don't know, extraordinary in our lives. Big difference. We're going to have a similar announcement, I'm assuming, within the next, 15, 16 hours. We're going to know something extremely decisive for FC Cincinnati's MLS bid. We're going to know, yes, Ohio, no, Ohio. Potentially yes to Newport, or guess what? We might be going home with our bags packed tomorrow saying, you know what, FC Cincinnati's not going to be in MLS. So there's a lot riding on tomorrow's potential announcement with the commissioners. So kind of getting nervous, but really want to hear from everybody out there on what their take is.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you get in touch with us. We've got the King's Hammer hotline open tonight, 513-399-KICK. If you don't want to have your voice here on the show, again, comment on Facebook, comment on YouTube. We're monitoring both channels tonight, so we're monitoring Twitter as well. So make sure you get in touch. All opinions are welcome, whether you're for the stadium being in Ohio, whether you're for the stadium using the tax dollars set aside by the city and the county. Have your say. This is a venue for everybody to have their opinion tonight. And, of course, I have to introduce the man of the hour. I have to give it up at my big-time props. We got to give it up for the one and only, the lone wolf, Bill Wolf. The reason for the props is because, believe it or not, we all work full-time jobs. And to try to cover FC Cincinnati while still doing our full-time jobs is very, very difficult. And at the drop of a hat, Bill sprinted down to the FCC offices today. And Bill, thank you so much for going down and covering the press conference. Let's start with you because it was one of the more unique press conferences we've seen Jeff Birding have in the short amount of time of FC Cincinnati. And the tone was a lot different today.
Yeah, definitely different. For one, Carl Lindner was sitting beside him. We haven't seen that for quite a while. But yeah, beyond that, I would say there's definitely a sense of frustration, I would say, on his part. Beyond just what was said, just the tone or sort of the feel of it, I would call it frustration. Not that they're trying to be combative or anything, but I think they're just starting to get worn out. Time is ticking. They know that the MLS bid announcement is literally a month from today. They have to have something together to wrap up their package really in the next 2 weeks. Literally after Thanksgiving, they have to have this together. And I think, just some frustration that, for instance, the county keeps coming back to Paul Brown Stadium. And, we need to move past that. I mean, it's been decided, it's been determined it can't work. And I think, the feeling was, hey, we're putting it all on the line here. We're getting everything out there and we're asking even less now. And why can't we get you guys on board on this? So I know that's, maybe reading into it too much, that people thought, that there was a little bit of combative nature to it. But I think it's really just frustration of them wanting to get this closed and done and feeling like, they need some help. I mean, I don't know what you guys saw. I assume Brian, Brad, did one of you guys watch the stream?
Yeah, I mean, well, trying to write a story as well. Yeah, I mean, you really haven't seen that take from Jeff. Just that, I mean, he's always had passion, but just that fervor that he had this week, and just showing you how it matters. And we, as I said at the top of the show here, we're within a month of the overall MLS announcement. And we need to know this stuff. We have to have this stuff in because MLS, their ownership group and their expansion committee is not going to just discuss this for one day and make their decision. They're going to need time to make sure everything's ironed out. So, we can't just be arriving to New York City December 13th and say, here's our plan. We need to know now. And it definitely seemed like he understood that mission, and they need to get this moving now. I mean, heck, he even had a line today saying, why do we have to wait till tomorrow to find out what we're doing? Let's do this now. So, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think that line you're actually referring to was actually related to Newport, to be accurate.
Sure.
So there was some question on one of the reporters' parts of, well, does this, are you waiting basically till tomorrow? We know that Hamilton County is meeting, that they're going to have a decision, and I believe they said 1 p.m. tomorrow they would announce their decision. And somebody said, so are you waiting, to hear what happens there to decide what to do with Newport? And Jeff just said, why would I wait till tomorrow? And, the sentiment's the same, but it really comes down to, we can't wait. I mean, if Newport's still on the table, we're still talking to Newport. And reading into that, I mean, Jeff said he was going from there to the airport. So I'm not sure when he's talking to Newport, but it sounded to me like he was planning on still talking to Corporex that day.
Yeah,
today.
He's just looking for somebody to play ball. And I think it's getting to the point where I think some of these commissioners, I don't know if it's a lack of respect, but just a lack of sincerity. I mean, we know Paul Brown's not going to work. These guys need to move on. They need to tell us, do you even want an MLS team in Cincinnati? And if not, why are we even wasting our time with you? This is one of my favorite sports broadcasters in this town. Lance McAllister also works with Mo Egger, and they were going both hosts were going across every spectrum, every argument for the stadium. And Mo Egger came across this today, is basically saying, we need to put this Paul Brown Stadium to bed. When you're applying for a job out there, applying to run to be a Hamilton County Commissioner, you have to hit so many thresholds. You have to meet criteria. And if you don't meet that criteria, you can't run for that office. So MLS has openly said, guess what? Cincinnati, you don't have that soccer-specific stadium. You're not getting into MLS. So offering Paul Brown Stadium isn't a real solution. It's political pandering. I don't want to attack them too much just because, maybe they do find something out here in the next 16 hours where they do decide to endorse the bid. But you know what? It would make a lot more sense to me as a constituent of Hamilton County if they would at least come up and say, hey, you know what? I have that $2.8 million earmarked for such and such project that's going to spur our community in a different way. And you know what? I'll take that as an honest answer, a transparent answer, and I'll respect that. But just them saying, oh, well, Paul Brown Stadium's an option. It's not an option. It's political pandering, and it's not leadership from our elected officials that we need in this situation.
Again, we've got phone lines open, 513-399-KICK. Boston standing by, ready to take your call. We're going to get to a couple of those calls here very shortly. And, of course, we're going to be hearing from Max Ellerby from the Build It Here group, who's been a big proponent of keeping the stadium here inside the city limits of Cincinnati. I want to read a couple of YouTube comments. First from Harry Austin, who's a supporter of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. It says, must be nice to have news. Still waiting for even a stadium picture of what might have been. Clearly he's being a San Antonio supporter. So Harry, we sorry. But thanks
we love you, buddy.
Yeah, but thanks for supporting Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Kevin Wallace also, he says, Newport isn't going to get this done in time. Carl and Birding wouldn't be doing this if Newport was settled. What do you guys make of that comment?
I think he's wrong. So I think this really comes down to Carl Linder from day one has said he wants to build this in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's his home. He wants this city to have the stadium, and he's put the pressure on Jeff and the rest of the front office to make that happen. And they've given Hamilton County and the city of Cincinnati every possible opportunity to get on board with the stadium. But Newport is essentially ready to go. There was one comment from Jeff today at the press conference about a timing issue. So essentially, if you're familiar with the concept, they've got one owner there in Newport who has the property. They've got a memorandum of understanding to purchase. What they need to do is figure out how to finance a stadium, how to finance the infrastructure around it. And there's tax incentive financing for that. Well, the only issue with tax incentive financing is you don't get the tax incentives until something else gets built. So, you need things around the stadium to generate revenue that you can then apply towards your bonds or whatever to pay for whatever you're trying to pay for. And it's a timing issue, right? I mean, it's a chicken and the egg. You can't have the taxes until something gets built, but whatever. And Jeff referenced today that, they worked out the timing issues. So to my mind, Newport's still wide open and ready for a stadium.
Real quick on that, Bill, is, I've wondered about that. Why are we all of a sudden, throwing Oakley out there? Okay, yeah, there might be something with Amazon. I doubt that very much. But this club, and especially today, they preach transparency. And I don't think that hiding any problems with the Newport site kind of has been in their mission. Now, that could be me trusting a career politician or a GM of a sports franchise more than I probably should. But, this is a club that's preached transparency. I just don't think that they would lie about that situation. At least I hope they wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't either. And, to be, upfront or whatever, after the press conference, I had a question, right? There was a comment that Jeff made about, he was dubious whether we could get the bid without this. And the problem was I didn't really hear what he was referring to when he said it. And even on the video, the question was kind of muffled. So my concern was, is he saying without Oakley, he doesn't think we can get an MLS bid? I talked to him briefly after the press conference, and he's like, no, Newport is still ready to go. There is, if we don't get Oakley, we go Newport. My only concern, the thing he's dubious about, is if they don't get a soccer-specific stadium, he doesn't see that they could do
100%
an MLS. In other words, Paul Brown Stadium.
Yeah. Well, we've got phone lines open, as I mentioned. One of the byproducts, too, from today's announcement that FC Cincinnati would be 100% financing the stadium privately means that the number of seats there at the stadium has gone down to 21,000, which we will certainly, I'm assuming, be hitting on later this evening throughout the show. So we will certainly come back to that. But first, we want to welcome in one of the folks from behind Build It Here, the one and only Max Ellerby. Max, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you all?
I'm doing fine. Welcome to the King's Hammer Hotline. What's on your mind? You got to be feeling good, right?
Oh, I always feel good, Nick. What do you think this is?
Well, of course, we know that. But, when you see the news today that FC Cincinnati is committing $350 million to back the stadium, I said it to the guys earlier today. I'd never in my wildest dreams thought I would see a professional sports franchise in this town completely finance their own stadium. I just never thought I'd see that day.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. We are incredibly lucky and, dare I say, spoiled in this city to enjoy the fineries that we have up to this point, and a pretty awesome ownership group that's willing to throw a ton of cash at this. I mean, honestly, if I'm a little incredulous, I apologize, but at this point, I honestly have no idea what else we can throw at the city in this county to get this done. They're getting everything that they're asking for, but do not sleep on Cincinnati's ability to pass up a good deal or shoot itself in the foot or fail to take advantage of a good opportunity. So what I would love for anyone who's engaged in this and concerned about it and wants it built in Cincinnati to blow up the commissioners so they wake up to a billion tweets and a ton of voicemails on their voicemail box, and let them know that this is a pretty good deal, about as good of a deal as anyone's going to get on something like this. And at this point, we've laid down the gauntlet, and I'm not sure what else we can do for these people. This is an awesome deal. 100% of the stadium privately financed. I honestly, when I heard from the beginning how we were going to do our stadium plan, I was under the impression that they were going to fund it privately. My heart sank a little bit, especially as a lifelong Cincinnatian, that they were going to have a public ask at all. But I came around to the idea, not going into the details of why, but the deal made sense to me. But at this point, it's just a no-brainer. It's a layup. And, I'm kind of sharing a little bit of the attitude that, as you alluded to before, maybe not combative, but maybe frustrated and impatient at this point, with Birding and Lindner at the press conference. Let's get it done. What are we waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, that felt like that was said quite a bit today throughout the tone of the press conference. And I know a lot's been going on. I know that I'm sure the elections had a little bit to do with a lot of people are wondering why they waited so long in the process to get this project done. Well, the elections had a little bit to do with it, I'm sure. And now that we know the Mayor Cranley reelected, that certainly helped. He's been in the corner of FC Cincinnati really all along, but probably couldn't say it publicly. But now that he's been reelected, I think that certainly helped. But what can folks do? And I know that you were probably at it a lot today, but what can folks do? You mentioned getting involved and getting in communication with the commissioners. How has the Build It Here folks been approaching the commissioners today?
At this point, we're just encouraging everybody to blow them up at their email, their Twitter accounts, their phone numbers. All that information can be found on the Build It Here Facebook. We've got all their contact information there, and really, that's this is, given the fact that they're having some sort of press conference tomorrow. God knows what they're going to be talking about. I suspect they're going to do something like say that word that starts with a P and ends with a stadium, with maybe an all and a brown in the middle somewhere, yet again, because they seem to be pretty big fans of beating dead horses. But that aside, at this point, yeah, just we got to blow them up and let them know that this is a great deal. I mean, if you don't think that's on you, but I'm just kind of beside myself at even the suggestion that anything other than a yes could be their decision at this point. This is too sweet of a deal, and are there any other teams putting up this kind of money? I'm not so sure. There may be some claims of fully privately funding something, and then you look behind it like the Nashville deal, and they're considering the TIF money private. I mean, this is a stupid amount of money that they're willing to throw at this city, and if they don't bend down and pick it up and instead walk over it to save one penny, I'm frankly going to be super pissed. But the good news is, and this is coming from a Build It Here guy, the good news is, again, we are spoiled. We have another site we can go to. Yeah. So if the county wants to screw this up, we'll be taking our happy butts right over to Newport on the river, and we'll be watching games. But I swear to you, commission, seriously, it's a good deal. Pick it up. Let's go.
Well, you really just took the wind out of my sails on this next question. Of course, Paul Doherty called this a miracle solution, a miracle bid, a miracle effort to fund this stadium that, frankly, we'll probably never see in this city or this region again, because even that privately funded stadium, if it would land in Newport, would be a better deal for the area of Newport, Kentucky. And, kind of my question earlier was, are you guys willing to transition yourself if that commissioner statement tomorrow is bad? Are you willing to commit fully to let's build it now versus necessarily build it here?
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, we're supporters. Our core directive is to get this thing done in Cincinnati. Don't at me, but I'm in this thing because I'm a Cincinnatian. I love Cincinnati, and I have a team with my name on it. This thing moves across the river. I'll be a fan of a club, but I'm not going to be rooting for my city. I'll be rooting for a club at that point. So to answer your question, would we as an organization pivot to say build it in Newport? Well, my thought is if we pivot to building in Newport, build it here is not required at that point. It's kind of run its course. And to be clear, I won't be so much disappointed that we're in Newport. From a fan perspective, that's awesome. That if we're in Newport, we're an MLS team. Remember that and understand that. But from a Cincinnatian standpoint, if this county fails to pick up $300 million and put it in their pockets, I will be, as a Cincinnatian, disappointed. It'll be the same old, throwing myself on a hill here, but same old conservative, slow to move, small-minded, small-dreaming, behind-the-times city that everyone said it was. And this soccer team has honestly given me so much more energy about my city, thinking we're finally breaking through that mold and we're somewhere people want to come and celebrate. And honestly, this would be a step in the other direction from the progress of the city. And good on you, Newport, if you can snag this deal. This is a good deal. There's a reason they want it there. So if our side of the river can't recognize that, that's our problem, and we've got some soul searching to do, but we're going to end up doing it for 30 years looking at that beacon across the river. So again, blow up the commissioners, let them know how stupid this would be to pass up on it if that's your thing.
All right, one last time, Max. Where can folks find the Facebook page?
Just type in Build It Here, and you will be taken there. We're on Twitter as well. And I encourage everyone to blow up these commissioners and let them know that this is a great deal, and they should take it.
Good stuff, Max. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you guys for everything you do. You do a great job, and I can't say it enough. It's a great thing you do for the fans.
Thank you, buddy. We appreciate the kind words. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
All righty. Have a good night.
That's Max Ellerby joining us from the Build It Here group here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. And let's go to the phones again, who's waiting very patiently. Let's go to Ethan, who joins us now on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Hi, Ethan. How are you?
Good.
What's going on, buddy?
So, did you hear about Ronaldo?
What?
Ronaldo. He didn't sign with Real Madrid. Do you think that means he's coming to the Orange and Blue?
What? I'm so confused. What?
Hell yes. Hell yes. He's going to be our first DP, Ethan. 100%.
I'm so confused. Did I miss something? Did I miss something with Ronaldo today, guys?
No.
Oh.
Just keep rolling with it.
Okay.
Nick.
Ethan, what's going on, buddy? What's on your mind?
That was it.
Did we lose you, Ethan?
No.
Oh.
I'm just having brain fart.
Ethan. Ethan, where do you want this stadium?
Oakley.
All right.
Oakley. Why do you want it in Oakley?
So it's...
Because it's in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're FC Cincinnati. We want to keep this thing here, and we've just given the county a sweetheart deal. We've given them,
Yeah.
everything, single thing they ask for, and you want it for your friends to go see in Cincinnati. You want it for your kids in 20 or 30 years to see FC Cincinnati, right?
Mhm. Yep.
I like it. A man of few words. Unlike your dad. No? Ethan, you're there.
Very nice.
What? Yes, I'm there.
All right, but hey, we appreciate you holding. We appreciate you calling. How's soccer going? You doing well? You getting ready to start indoor?
Already did.
How's the shutout streak? You doing well?
No. 0-2.
Well, we got to work on that. I want to next time you call in. I want a better report on what's going on. All right.
All right.
Take it easy, Ethan. Thanks for calling.
I have a Facebook question here, Nick, if you have a second.
Yeah, what's up, Bri?
All right, Chris DeMayo on Facebook says, I'm confused about the numbers today. I want to represent both sides here. So the original public ask was $100 million with $250 million in private dollars. Of course, 100 towards the stadium, 150 to MLS to cover all the costs. And that includes a 21,000 seat stadium. Now they're offering 350, but still need 75 million from public and are back to a 21,000 seat stadium. Did the infrastructure stadium costs go up to 275 when it was originally 200? What is he missing? So, guys, what do you think? Bill, did you hear anything different about that at today's press conference?
It was sort of talked around a little bit, but I don't think they really addressed it. I believe, if I understand correctly, that the $350 million, no matter who was paying for it, was the franchise and the stadium cost. So 150 for MLS, 200 for the stadium. There was always going to be infrastructure on top of that. So there was going to be additional money required, but that wasn't really talked about because infrastructure typically is not an issue. Cities do infrastructure development all the time for businesses. If you put in a big building and you need more parking, or if you need a road widened, or you need a traffic light put in, or whatever, these are things that cities do all the time, and it really wasn't a big deal. I think the other issue was that, you're talking about city versus county. So in a lot of cases, the city covers these infrastructure costs versus the county, which would have to be involved in the stadium. And I don't really truly understand why one way or the other, but it seemed like the city was more pro FCC, I would say, so maybe a little less concern about that, and we were really targeting the county commissioners at that time for the stadium. So I think it was something that was there, but it just really wasn't talked about. And then actually, Jack, you're getting ahead of me there. On Facebook, Jack just mentioned that Oakley has higher infrastructure needs. They already have a lot of traffic problems. They have a lot of requests they put in for, the Edwards connector and various other things that I think they're trying to do to make their own traffic flow better today, irregardless of a stadium. So this just compounds on it and either pushes it forward or exacerbates it to a larger degree. So there, Jeff did make the comment today during the conference when it came up that this specific ask, this roughly $75 million infrastructure ask, is specific to Oakley. So if we would talk about West Side, or we want to talk about Newport, you're talking different infrastructure asks. And that's part of the other issue. The stadium's the same. They could work the financing on the stadium, but the infrastructure was going to depend on which site we ended up on.
Good question there
Did that
from
help?
Chris. Yeah, absolutely did. Good question, Chris. Thank you. If you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube, ask us questions. We're here to answer them here tonight on this special edition of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. And, of course, if you want to call in, it's a free-for-all tonight, 513-399-KICK. Let's go back to the phones and welcome in Paul from Anderson back to the show. Paul, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Thank you for having me on the show again. I appreciate it. I just wanted to call back in, and I had called last week. I certainly don't want to see the stadium end up in Newport. I think that would be a horrible mistake, and I think the citizens of Hamilton County would have done themselves better if they had elected more conservative people to the township. They wouldn't, or to the county. We wouldn't be even having this discussion tonight. We'd be talking about a stadium being built in Oakland.
Guys, what do you think of that?
Think I'm wrong?
I don't know. I don't know about the politics here, but I do have one question because we kind of touched on it, Paul. Would you rather have a 21,000 seat stadium in Oakley or a 25,000 seat stadium in Newport?
Well, 21,000 seat stadium in Oakley, of course. I mean, the money comes pouring back. I mean, well, of course the money comes into the county and stays here. I think that like I said, if we had a little more, if we had elected more Republicans, frankly, on there, you would have a mindset of bringing the money back into the county of Cincinnati, not so much a regional or a global mindset. And you know, the other thing I got to say is, you know, I'm not going to say my wife and I, who hold season tickets, are not going to go to Newport, because we probably will. But man, I'll be holding my nose to do that. I'm going down there to, you know, frankly, I want to go out and watch a soccer game. I'm not looking to score heroin or something like that. I have no illusion about going to Newport as it's some sort of a nicer place to go with better bars or whatnot. I heard that last week, and I thought that was ridiculous, because the developmental aspect of the whole thing will actually bring more than just an Applebee's mentality to Oakley, I think.
Paul, let me get you let me just say something real quick. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. If you're willing to pass on a $350 million private investment and all the other additional growth that's going to come with it, that's not a party issue. That's just flat out stupid.
Boom.
No, it isn't. That is, you're exactly right. It'd be absolutely stupid to pass this thing up. But there again, watch what party mentality is going to do tomorrow. I think it'd be far-fetched to think that they're just going to say yes to this thing. They need more than a call-in and a campaign of emails. I think people like yourselves ought to continue to tout, you know, keeping this in Hamilton County and in the city of Cincinnati, the boroughs of Cincinnati, basically. Keeping the development here is always going to be much better, because here's the thing. I may go to dinner in Oakley. I may stop and go to the bar in Oakley on my way to or from the game, but I'm not going to do that in Newport. And it has nothing to do with party politics. It all has to do with, you know, feeling safe, you know, knowing the area and whatnot. I think that says a lot here.
I appreciate the call, Paul. And hey, we want everybody's viewpoint, and you've made it very clear the last couple times you're not a fan of Newport, and that's totally fine. We totally get that, and you know, to each their own.
I agree with you. I don't hate Newport. Don't get me wrong. I would just much rather, like anybody else who's got any sense of what's going on, would much rather have it. It doesn't make any sense to have FCC go to Newport, to me, in any sense. I think it should stay here, and hopefully everybody will join in with it. I didn't mean to be so partisan, but it usually is a fact where development's concerned.
Well, we appreciate the call, Paul, and we appreciate you chiming in with your opinion tonight, all right?
Gentlemen, thank you for having me again.
No problem. Thank you for calling. That's Paul from Anderson giving us a ring. All opinions tonight are welcome. We don't want to anybody to call in to think that we're here to bash or here to be negative towards any view. There are pros and cons to every single site that FC Cincinnati has a chance to pick. So we want everybody's viewpoint. If you're pro Newport, call in. Give us a ring, 513-399-KICK. If you're a pro using the TIF money, give us a ring. We want to hear everybody's viewpoint tonight here on the show. So let's go back to the phones, and let's go. I don't have a name. It just says Guy from Kentucky. Good job, Boston. Let's go. Guy from Kentucky. Hi, who's this?
No, it's Jeff in Fort Mitchell. I talked to you guys about a week and a half ago.
Yes. It's like if you listen to last week's show and then you listen to tonight's show, it's like a mirror. What's going on, Jeff?
Come on, guys, you got to step it up. Well, as I'm dialing into you guys, I'm listening to a guy named Paul in Anderson Township talking about going to Newport to score some heroin.
Yeah,
dude,
that was rough.
Second of all, there's no Applebee's in Newport anyway, dude. Man, hey, that's a bit much. Come on, I mean, you know what I mean?
So,
it's a bit much.
Sure.
So, you know, obviously,
what do you think?
when I called back into you guys a few weeks ago, you know, I'm pretty, adamant about, the the whole situation in general. But I think what it is, man, I think people just think like, okay, Oakley, man, that sounds awesome. Well, if you get off the Oakley exit, you've got a Meijer, a Fresh Time, and a Kroger, and a strip mall, no trees, and everything else right there. And even like Jeff Birding today is like, we haven't said anything specific about an Oakley site because we have multiple sites. Well, where is that sexy site at in Oakley? At least in regards to Newport, you can see it and feel it. It's right there where the Licking and the Ohio meet. It's literally a mile. It's within a mile of Paul Brown and the Red Stadium. I think there was a writer either from the Enquirer or WCPO that actually did the march from like Mecklenburg Gardens to Nippert, and then he did the march from like Cincinnati over to Newport, or from Covington over to the Ovations, and it was like 2 to 3 minutes shorter in Kentucky, ironically. I think with that urban core, and everyone's so used to going down, to Bengals games and Reds games, you had the same kind of tailgate routine, whatever else, and people talk about, I'm spending my money in Kentucky, spending my money in Ohio. It's the same little region. If I'm going to go to Keystone by the Roebling one time, the next time I'm going to go to Holy Grail and kind of meet my buddies and have some wings and beers before Clones, Reds, Bengals, whatever else. But this Discord, I think, if I could take a left turn real quick, I think Jeff Birding and those guys are kind of pulling a old school kind of smoke and mirrors in regards to, threatening the county with all of a sudden $2.8 million is found 30 days before the MLS bid, and we've been bidding for the MLS for 2 years, so to speak. I think the Newport deal is all but a done deal, and he almost said it. I've been listening to you guys all night that why do we have to wait till 1 o'clock tomorrow? I think it's all but a done deal in Newport. He's just anticipating the official no thank you, so to speak, from the county, the city, etc. I don't know all the specifics about the Cincinnati political aspect, so to speak, but I think he's just kind of waiting to kind of say, hey, you know what, we're good to go, man. Thank you very much. We've got 25,000 seat stadium ready to rip and grip in Kentucky. So I think if everybody, once you got used to hitting Newport and parking and doing your normal thing, you can still park in your same garage that you park in for Reds and Bengals games. It's just right there. You know what I mean? So wait,
do people go to Reds games?
Do a phenomenal job, man. If you will.
Well, Jeff, thank
you
you
guys
very,
do a phenomenal job, man.
Much.
I just want to I want to pay you guys a compliment.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. Now, my question here is, he was talking about basically just all the contingencies about the money in Hamilton County, and that maybe somehow they could still end up in the West End. Would you at least support a West End move if they could keep it on the West Side? Or you just said it's that Newport's the best site?
I'm 100% in regardless. I mean, that's kind of where my mindset is. I'm a huge soccer fan. I don't know exactly where the West End site is. That's like one of the things I don't know exactly where that's at. It's not going to affect my decision of renewing my season tickets, which I've already done. I'm still going to do that. But I think people get this mindset, okay, it's got to be Cincinnati. It's got to be, well, dude, it's got to be in a spot where it's super cool to go to. I've been to a Seattle, Sounders game. You walk to those cool-ass bars going into the stadium, and it's crazy sick. I think Newport automatically, I know the Levy's a little old school, but you got some stuff in Covington right there, the House of Orange, Keystone, Molly Malone's, and you get the banks, sure. B&B Riverboats. Whoever those water taxis are, they're going to create a system to get you across the river in regards to the water taxi system. You can tailgate in the banks and the whole 9 yards. I would imagine OTR is going to have, the Fort Mitchell Benz are going to have, charters, coming over from Ryan House and the whole 9 yards and everything else. They're going to accommodate. Of course, they're going to accommodate because it's right there in the urban core. And I hate that phrase. It's so clichéic, but it is what it is. It's right there. Once that's built, and the one end zone is overlooking downtown Cincy, and the one time we host a U.S. men's friendly versus, say, Ireland, just for sake of argument, it's going to be the sickest thing where, on ESPN or whatever heck it is, all three stadiums, Paul Brown, the Reds, and we're hosting 30,000 people with Ireland USA friendly. It's going to be phenomenal, much less a Saturday night versus us and, Portland or the Galaxy or the Sounders, much less the Red Bulls. The Red Bull Stadium is like 30 miles outside of Weehawken, New Jersey. Yeah. So we're not New York by any stretch of the imagination, but you're talking about, 5 miles from downtown Cincy. I mean, Kentucky might as well be third world Mexico to you guys in Hamilton County, Westchester, and Mason. It's amazing, this discord that's happened, and half the people in Northern Kentucky work downtown Cincy for, Kroger, P&G, wherever else, the whole 9 yards. We spend our money in Cincinnati. It's just been amazing, and even Mo Egger was phenomenal today. He's born and raised in Northern Kentucky, and he works and lives in, Cincinnati. I know you were talking about that earlier, but it's just,
he still says
this conversation is riveting. It's riveting.
Mm-hmm.
It's riveting. This conversation is riveting. I've never, and I'll let you guys go ahead and finish, man. I'm just kind of obviously pretty passionate about this whole subject. It's very
jacked
interesting.
up. I like it. You bring the energy every time.
Thanks for calling, Jeff.
Go ahead, guys.
So let me kind of expand on Jeff's a little bit of Jeff's topic here. Is that I'll never forget that when they released the stadium information originally, and they brought up Newport as the site that they originally submitted to MLS, and the boos that happened, and just the uncomfortable look on Carl Lindner III's face. He has every excuse in the world now to say, I tried everything I could to get my club in Cincinnati. And if he has to take his club to Newport, I don't know how I could be mad at him for doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that's I have no words to rebut that. I mean, you're right. He's got to do what's best for him. He's got to do what's best for the club.
For us. What's best for us.
Supporters. I mean, I'm with you 100%. I think, and I hate that they used the term today, that it was a layup. I thought these sports cliches are just killing me. But it just seems like a no-brainer here. You're not going to get there's no professional sports team, I don't know, from this point forward that will ever pony up 100% of their own money to build a stadium. I just don't see it happening in the NFL. Not that they need to, because I think every NFL stadium is brand new now. So yeah, I just think it's got to get done, and the commissioners have to realize that this is a big opportunity that they could potentially miss out on if they don't act.
They've met every demand. No new taxes. The damn thing's in Ohio. And this only sets us up, having a professional soccer franchise in MLS only sets Cincinnati up for success. When P&G is looking to build or attract talent, millennials are looking for activities that they want to go to, and that is soccer. They want to spend their money there. We're seeing that. This is Cincinnati's long-term window to the world. And if Top Fortune and the commissioners were to slam it shut, that would just be it would just be a shame. And you know what? If with all this coming through, and we're seeing all this money they're willing to put up, and if they offer up Paul Brown Stadium tomorrow, then something just stinks. Something just doesn't smell right in my mind. Yeah. What's the motive?
Yep.
Yeah. Why?
Let's go back to the King's Hammer hotline and welcome in Ronnie to the show. Ronnie, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Ronnie, I ain't that moron from Deanna stat. God dang, y'all, it's Bill Grandesto here to tell the truth. How y'all doing?
Oh,
good, pal. How are
hi,
you?
Bill. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. God dang, that Jeff from Fort Mitchell. I'm a Kentucky boy born and raised, but that guy's got to settle down, man. Have a beer or smoke something. Jeez, Christ. Relax, man.
Maybe
Look,
some Newports?
I maybe some Newports. That's a good city, and that's a good brand of cigarettes. I'll tell you what. Oh, yeah, Paul from Anderson. Yeah, come on down to Newport and get some heroin. I'll go out there and hang out at your abandoned Circuit City. Maybe that's where I can build a stadium, moron.
All right.
What's
Look. So, here, I'm just going to say something real quick. I like to come on here. I'm heaming, I'm hawing, I'm joking around. But I'll tell you what, I firmly stand in support of Newport. But I'm going to tell you what, the Cincinnati area is bigger than just the city of Cincinnati. And if a stadium is in Newport and the fans are going there, they're spending their money, they're staying in hotels, that's good for the region as a whole. But I'll tell you what, this region, this city has made a habit ever since the Roebling Bridge was built of passing up on good opportunities just for no reason. And tomorrow, if Paul Brown Stadium is offered, that is just another example of this region being behind the times. And I really, really hope that people are on the wrong side of history about this. Because if it's in Newport, we still benefit. But you had the chance, and I really, really hope that people don't squander it. You know what I'm saying?
Did you just do a 180 on Paul Brown? Because last week you were all aboard that team playing down at Paul Brown Stadium.
I would say I'm all aboard the train, but it's not the Oasis train. Ty Portune's been promising that for 20 years, and that ain't happened.
All right.
No, I do agree with you, though,
That's an
Bill.
obscure local political reference. Look, I'm just saying, whether it's in Cincinnati, whether it's in Newport, we're all going to go to the games. We're all going to have a good time. But if you are seriously going out there and telling people Paul Brown Stadium's a good idea, we know it's not, and it's just political theater at this point. It's time to move on. That's my word, and I'm sticking to it. Also,
Amen.
coming up in February, it's 18 years since Dale Earnhardt died. Rest in peace. We love you. We miss you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate the call, buddy.
Dale.
God bless. Take care.
That's Bill Grindisto giving us a ring here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. These screeners get me every time. I love it. 513-399-KICK. We've got phone lines open if you want to have your say about tonight's or today's press conference. Is there anything that we've missed that we haven't? I think we should probably dive into the 21,000 number a little bit more. It was announced today that the stadium was going to be 21,000. A lot of people kind of were up in arms about this. And let's talk about what that exactly means. Because the lower the seat number, I think, is going to probably benefit FC Cincinnati early on because it's going to drive up the demand for tickets. They're already pretty close to selling or averaging that number as is. So I think you have the potential to sell out easily every home game if you're in MLS at that stadium. And let's not forget, that can always be expanded. After a few years, if the demand increases, you could always add 4,000, 5,000 more seats at a time. I think the original plan was to eventually get it to 30,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. They didn't talk about a lot about the expansion part of the stadium, but really they just focused on the fact that because of the private financing, they've gone ahead and they're just going to start at 21,000.
No, you are right about the 30,000. I mean, it's always been a three-phase development, starting with 21,000 in phase one, having a 25,000 phase two step, and then ultimately 30,000 for phase three. And that hasn't changed. The only thing they talked about was because of the support we're seeing today, where we are selling on average more than 21,000 tickets per game, that they wanted to start with 25,000. And, I think that's a logical thing to do, and it's a great thing to do. But the reality is that 4,000 extra seats don't come for free. You have to pay for them. And with the ownership group now having to come up with an extra $100 million to completely privately fund the stadium, that's just not reasonable. I'm sure they can come up with $100 million, but they're probably really, 150 is just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's disappointing, that we do have to settle for 21,000 if we do end up in Oakley. So I think that then the onus becomes on the stadium design. How can we creatively design the stadium to add seats in the future to make sure all the sight lines are correct? But also, if we do rapidly our demands through the roof, maybe some areas where you could add some seats, especially in big games. I would like to see it done better than Mafre Stadium in Columbus, where they just throw bleachers on the stadium and they can add in a couple additional thousand. But I don't want necessarily that big empty stage there behind that goal. I just think that's an eyesore. But I would like to see something with the club getting creative with the design where they can fit in some seats, where they can add a couple thousand here or there to help us get to that number without dramatically increasing for a $50 million price tag. So I would love.
I'm going to say
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say the onus is on FC Cincinnati supporters here, guys, because if we drive the demand for this, and we, say hypothetically December 14th, 2017, they come out and say, Cincinnati, you're going to MLS, okay? And December 15th, Jeff Birding opens up and says, guys, you know what? Let's open up season ticket deposits for 2019 season or 2020 season. And if we respond like Orlando City did, it will force the club's hand. It will make financial sense for the club to start at that 25,000 number. Go back to that 25,000 number. If we have that true support that we keep saying that we have. So, we can force the club's hands pretty easily on this by just coming out and forcing and buying the tickets like we've done. Who's to say we won't?
Yeah, just one point I would probably add to what we just said earlier regarding the sight lines and expansion and all that. Just to be really, really clear, it's already planned. We basically have a 30,000 stadium plan. And what we've done is we've taken away 9,000 seats. So FCC and the architects and everybody who's developed the stadium is already planning sightlines for 30,000. And what they're looking at for 21,000 is basically a horseshoe with one end unfinished. And that's what they showed back in whatever that was. I can't remember. Over the summer, was it? But when they unveiled the stadium, that was the idea, was to have this horseshoe unfinished on one end. That's 21,000. So they will, I don't think there's any concern about it as they expand that they have to think about it. It's already thought about.
Whew, what an hour. That flew, guys. And I feel like there's so much more we could probably discuss. We've got a lot of folks tuning in. A lot of people on Facebook and YouTube. We're still here. If you want to have your say, give us a call, 513-399-KICK. We've got phone lines open. Boston, provided he's still awake. I wonder if he's wearing his MLS shirt that he was wearing last night with the new Mercy Health logo on it. It was. If you missed the show last night, it was pretty spectacular.
Can I do a quick shout out?
Yeah,
quick?
Go for it.
I want to give a special shout out to a special listener viewer tonight. My cousin Andrew is out in California, I think in San Diego, perhaps, serving in the Marine Corps. He was a big baseball guy and has been kind of addicted to FC Cincinnati as of late, and tune in from California tonight. So I want to give some love to my buddy there, and if we all could wish Andrew the best out there. I think it's the first year in the Marine Corps, so give him some love if you can.
FC Cincinnati is looking for players. They need to bring him back and have him play center
You're
back.
right.
Nobody would get through that back line.
6'4", a brick. Yeah, he'd be good.
And he'd be a fan with the ladies. Oh, yeah. He's much better looking than Brian and I.
Significantly.
Yes.
And I think we move on from that. Let's go back to the Kings Hammer Hotline. Let's welcome in Darren from the West Side. Darren, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Pretty good. So I've been on Twitter a lot tonight, and there's people that are just up in arms like, oh, we can build it in Oakley, sure, but you're going to lose the bid. I'm like, no, that's not the case, guys. Like, it's the same stadium plan. I know you guys were just talking about this, but it's the same plan. Like, they just took away some seats because they're funding everything. Let's build it here. Like, so this is my logic. Kentucky. Kentucky is Louisville, and Louisville is crap. I don't want to go there. Let's build it here.
That's when I think of Kentucky, I do think of Louisville, and especially after what happened last night, which we won't mention. I saw a lot of streamers on their field, but they're probably not all that upset about that. But I see your point. For me, I'm at a point now, Darren, where I just want it to get built and get in the league, get an MLS. If it's in Newport,
don't get me wrong. Wherever it is, I'm going to be there. But if we can build it here, let's do it here. Let's get it done.
I like it. Darren, appreciate the call, man.
Have a good night, guys.
You too. That's Darren from the West Side giving us a ring.
I was going to say, do we want to talk a little bit about why the county doesn't want to be interested? It's not like FC Cincinnati's holding them ransom. It's not like they're, trying to extract ridiculous cases. They're not. First of all, they're not having any stipulations in there about having to, build things like a new jumbotron or whatever they built it. Yeah, scoreboard at Paul Brown. It's not like they're asking for, just hundreds and hundreds of $1 billion with no input. We are funding this whole thing. This thing is pretty much a model how you would expect stadiums to be built in this country in the future. What the hell is the matter?
I went to that Hamilton County Commissioners, big box meeting as part of the whole FCC supporters group to kind of turn out and show them interest in the stadium. And, they were going through all of these big projects and how much they cost. And, one of the projects on their plate is like $200 million in renovations and upkeep to Paul Brown and Great American Ballpark. I mean, we're talking twice as much money as we originally asked for just to maintain those parks. And as you said, this is a model situation. We don't want them to cover any upkeep, any overruns. It's just amazing to me that they can't see that difference.
You have literally, like, I tend to think of the Castellinis as a good owner. Okay, we all have our feelings about Mike Brown, but I think the Castellinis, even though they got, and actually it wasn't even them at the time, but they do a lot to keep it their stadium. I mean, this owner is going to own the stadium. For what we know, he's going to pay taxes. He's going to do everything to make this thing a bright spot in town. Yeah, I know the Inquirer said, we don't owe him anything, but this guy spends tens of millions of dollars a year in this town, hiring people. He built a brand new building downtown Cincinnati, right on the riverfront, that is going to grace our skyline for years and years and years and make it a pinnacle of this town. Why the hell wouldn't you get on board with this guy? Everything he touches pretty much turns to gold. Why wouldn't you have it on here? I mean, he's asking for literally similar things: infrastructure, parking, upgrading on-ramps, exit ramps, roads, that you would when you're trying to attract a big business to your town. And this is big business. Don't let it fool you. Having an MLS club in town is big business. And then we look at our future. We don't know what's going to hold for the Bengals in 10 years. They're going to be out of their contract. FC Cincinnati is here to stay. You have local ownership investing massive amounts of money, their own money, in this club. People say, oh, what's the difference between them and the Crew? This is their money, massive amounts of money in this town. It's going to stay here, and it's going to be a lasting legacy with the Lindners in this town.
Yeah, I mean, it's a $350 million investment versus $60 million investment. And, he's automatically going to lose value for every dollar he puts in just because of the current value of MLS clubs. So, I mean, it's a losing proposition off the bat for him. So it really doesn't gain him much to move the team.
Well, it year over year, it's a tough proposition. If he sells in the long term, he's probably going to win. Because that's what happens
in like 30, 40 years.
But one thing I want to say
his son
is how can you deny FC Cincinnati infrastructure here and then pass any infrastructure grants into a company that applies from this county?
Yeah,
you can't. I mean, that is absolute crap.
And then why would other people in the ownership group even try to build business around here?
Second of all, first of all, not even the ownership group, but if you put up signs saying we're not going to give them money, you're basically shouting on the rooftop at a very high level. I mean, imagine blasting on ESPN, FC Cincinnati. Cincinnati itself denies this town the stadium, especially after they want to put up 100% of the actual stadium cost. You are literally putting up big flashing signs that says Cincinnati's closed for business. Amazon, sorry, we don't want you here. We're not willing to give you money. This is just a terrible precedent, especially when they're willing to put up so much money, and it's coming from things that, either funds that aren't used or money that's coming from the growth of the town, tax increment financing. There's the funds that are raised from property values to pay for the stadium. This isn't rocket science. This is a sweetheart deal to bring a crown jewel to this town. You need to accept it.
All of y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh Leese on Facebook basically was bringing that up, was, how does, the next guy who comes behind FCC who wants that Oakley spot, how do they do infrastructure for that person? I mean, you can't say FCC, no, we won't do the infrastructure for you. And then somebody else wants to build and we say, sure, we'll put up $75 million in infrastructure for you. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And it's going to, like you said, people are going to turn away. They're going to assume that, Hamilton County doesn't want to do business.
It's just, we will remember this. Everybody who's in Cincinnati and is a fan of FC Cincinnati, if this goes over to town or over into Newport, we will still remember this. FC Cincinnati, for a better word, is our baby. And right now, they're screwing with our baby. And if they screw this up and this goes over town, even though I'll still go to Newport, I'll still support, but they have this opportunity. If you screw that up, we will definitely remember it come election time.
Yeah, and it's bouncing around Facebook and such, and we've touched on it. But again, this isn't just about FCC. It's not just about whether we get a stadium or not, because in my opinion, we will get a stadium. We will get an MLS bid. It just may be in Newport instead of in Hamilton County and Cincinnati, city of Cincinnati. But what it really does is it shows places like Amazon how much we're willing to support businesses in our city, how much we're willing to get behind those businesses and support infrastructure. It shows the Unified Bid Committee, how much, the city is into soccer. The World Cup bid certainly would be at jeopardy if for some reason we couldn't get the MLS bid because the city didn't get behind this or they viewed that as a negative. To me, it's just crazy. I mean, this they've said it, and I believe it's true. This really is our bid to lose at this point.
I'm trying to catch my breath. What a whirlwind 48 hours it's been covering this team. From yesterday's kit sponsorship deal announcement to today's press conference announcing that the ownership is going to privately finance the stadium. It's just been an absolute crazy time, and it's an absolute the perfect time to get on board with this team.
Real quick,
yeah, go for it.
So I just saw a couple posts here on Facebook mentioning that the World Cup bid isn't dependent on us getting a soccer-specific stadium. It absolutely is, because the unified bid will look at training facilities. They'll look at all the different infrastructure that clubs have to train, to be, to offer secluded training opportunities, the health, fitness, capabilities, and that's absolutely going to make a difference. Having a soccer-specific stadium, a training ground, an MLS club will absolutely make a difference with the unified bid. Having a brand new facility will be even better. So, they might not say that, but it absolutely 100% makes a difference.
And, you mentioned training facilities, and that's a great segue as well. We're talking $350 million investment from FC Cincinnati, 150 for the franchise, 200 now for the stadium. But that also does not include the training facilities. And we know that they have to build, essentially a world-class training facility for a development academy as well as their own team. That obviously is important for the World Cup bid as well, but it's going to be additional money. I mean, we're looking at like $400 million roughly from FC Cincinnati to support this team, to grow this soccer movement in this city. That's unprecedented.
That's before we sign a darn player.
Exactly. Yeah, no kidding.
How kindness. Seriously.
Well, we know they have at least $50 million coming in, right?
Yeah.
So
and that's more to the point, right? I mean, why would we not support this with businesses like Mercy Health getting behind this team? I mean, in a big way.
What's it show to the people? Cincinnati County Commission denies this. What's it show to MLS? Does it hurt our MLS bid? It's just messages. We're 2 of 3. We want this thing to be spotless, and it just seems like open and shut. It just seems so simple, and I know it's not, but it just seems that way, and it's about as simple as I think it's going to get. And they just need to play ball. We've come 99% of the way there. Like, literally, you start left side and right side. FC Cincinnati's come 99% of the way. We just need that one little bit of buy-in. Help us out.
There you have it. I think that's a good way to end tonight's special podcast. Again, what a crazy few hours it's been. Big thanks to Bill, who made the trip down there today. But this show and this website is nothing without the fans. And we cannot thank everybody who tuned in tonight. I think at one point we had close to 100 people tuned in live, both on Facebook and on YouTube combined. I mean, that's pretty darn cool, especially on such short notice. If you're listening, I mean, we do this for fun. This is a hobby of ours, but it definitely needs some support. And so if you've got a moment, if you've got some spare change lying around, maybe it's inside that couch upstairs, in between the cushions, send some our way. We really would appreciate it. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. We need to start, helping these guys out that are contributors to this website. And I can't do that without the help of the supporters. And if maybe you have a business and you want to sponsor this bad boy, maybe we can work out a kit sponsorship deal for Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We'll wear shirts with logos on it. Why not? Again, we really would appreciate
$5 million every year. Sure.
Hey man, we want to get that CST TV off the ground. Help us out.
Yes. Build it here, right? in Cincinnati. Hopefully my wife's not watching. Anyway, so seriously, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Make sure you go and get subscribed to the show on iTunes. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/iTunes. /Google /Stitcher, basically anywhere you can find podcasts. Go get subscribed so you don't miss these special episodes. I think I'm fairly safe in saying, nope, maybe I better not say it. I was going to say this is probably the last episode of the week, but who knows? Something crazy might happen tomorrow, and we might be back at it tomorrow night. I doubt it, but stay tuned. We'll have the full report tomorrow at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. My thanks to the Weigel twins, Brian and Brad.
Real quick, Nick.
Yeah, Brian.
I just want to say I thought the field for today's show was really poor and made for a crap performance.
Are you talking about my hosting? I'm kidding. I know exactly what you're talking about. Hot mic. This coming from the guy who's likes to make comments when the mic's live and he doesn't realize it. I think that's
he was
funny.
sitting on that all day.
I know. That's pretty rough. I feel bad for those guys. You never want to do that. I've had that happen before as well. Well, thankfully it was on the radio, not TV, and it was high school basketball, so nobody was listening. Anyway, my thanks to these guys for on short notice being here tonight. My thanks to everybody listening. I'm Subs, reminding you to watch your tackles, and everyone, we will see you all next week.
In words of the immortal Carl Linder III, what are we waiting for?
Man, I deleted. I had to stop the recording. Ugh.
You always give us time.